Ooh, Liron here. I want to welcome you to spooky tutorial number 2, in which we'll talk about a concept you will absolutely love. Why? Because it can completely transform your watercolors and quite easily at that. Now, I can't move on to the tutorial without reminding you there's a spooky Halloween sale. Visit the link below if you wanted to get my courses, both of them or one of them, to complete your collection. Now is the time, because you're going to get an amazing discount. And on Thursday, which is maybe tomorrow, I'm not sure when this video is out exactly, spooky Halloween live stream to top it off. So let's talk about reflected light. The reason this concept is so powerful is because it has the power to turn your paintings from amateurish looking to highly professional. I have to start with an explanation. So, do you often notice how, especially in portraits, well, this is a skull portrait, you have an area that is darker than the rest, and then the rest is kind of well lit? I'm going to explain to you why that happens. We have two light sources here, one coming from the right, one coming from the left. Here's what happens. The light source from the right casts a shadow on this side of the skull. Is that right? Yes, that is correct. But this light source brings back the light right around the edges, and the same thing happens on the other side. Light coming from the left casts a shadow to the right, but the light source from the right counteracts that shadow. What do we end up with? We end up with lighter sides and a dark center, and that's exactly how we're going to paint this lovely skull. So let me show you. I'm going to start with, and knowing that, you're going to be able to see it. You're going to see it everywhere now. You're going to see it in all sorts of different portraits, whether they're living or not, whether it's a skull or an actual person. You will see. So here's our blue side. Now, the highlight isn't that light, so I'm just covering it with some paint. And look at how wet my paint is. This is key. You want the paint to flow. Okay. Now, as we make our way, in fact, you could do this. Just cover the whole thing up. Okay, there we go. And for the other side, we're going to use a bit more of a quinacridone rosy color to get that beautiful pinky violet feel. You can paint outside the lines. You can feel free to do it however you want. Let's get some more color out of this well. Something a little cleaner. There we go. And right now, because everything is so wet, you can pretty much be easy. Go ahead, you can extend the edges if you want. We'll see what happens with that in a couple of moments. You can do that though. We'll add a bit more of our beautiful ultramarine here to the background. Doesn't really matter, but check it out. As time progresses, you want to start bringing out the shadows. And as I explained, the shadows are as follow. We have there we go. We have, and this could be like a first wash, right? We have the dark in the middle, okay? That's what you want to absolutely respect. So I'm going to start mixing up a bit of a darker blue. Here's the reason. I want to start creating a feel for this highlight. This needs to feel like a highlight. So I'm going to start painting with blue, and look at how much water I have. Okay, this is why I'm able to do this. What's under there we go, it's a pencil. Now let's put the palette knife here for a bit of flow, directional, top to bottom if I want to. And this will be our core kind of blue color. Okay, let's get rid of this little speck of dust. And we've left our highlight. And then for the other side, we're going to do once again our mix of a bit of darker colors, a bit stronger, right? And we're going to start carving out, okay, where is the highlight? Where are the shadows? Okay, this is all starting to get nice and dark. I'm going to get rid of some water on my brush. Can you see it all? I think you can see everything clearly. And some more, let's say, minor shadows on the teeth. We can bring out some of the details later on. But I want to first create this overall feel. Now, let's go back to our blue and start pushing areas that feel like they should be darker. So we do have this shadow here where the structure of the skull, I don't know what you call that, but it is there. And the bottom here is quite dark. We're still not going for the darkest darks, okay? This is kind of shaping up the overall shape of shadow. There's a strong shadow there. As I remind you, in the middle we have a strong shadow. There's a stronger shadow here. There's the strong shadows underneath, okay? And check it out. While the paper is still wet, you can get away with a lot, you know? You're slowly pushing it. And look at how beautiful of a feel we get here, right? And then we get more of our dark reds. So this goes around the eyebrow, and there's a bit of it here. See, gentle touch. You can get quite far in watercolor with just a gentle touch, okay? Some shadow on the teeth. We have that cast shadow on the surface. And you see how it starts to take shape. So now, let's crank up the volume and go for the darks. What this is going to do is it's going to start giving us more volume to the painting, okay? And because we understand now reflected light and how it works, particularly in this scene, we're able to capture it because we know that the center is the darkest, okay? I'm going to keep this a beautiful flowy watercolor. We won't go into overwork. We'll probably be done with it once the paint dries, at least on the skull itself. But you see, just being gentle can go a long way. Now, we might decide to add some details after it dries too. We might. We'll see about that. But here's the secret to using a black paint. You want to spice it up with a lot of non-black paint, okay? Unless the scene is just monochromatic. If you just use pure black, and I see you doing this all the time, if you're just using pure black, you're gonna lose the colorfulness. It's gonna feel flat. You don't want that, okay? You want it to feel like it's the shadow of the color we're looking at, which is in this example a red, right? You want it to feel like it's a shadow of a red. Now, light itself colors this skull. The light source is red. The light source is blue. Remember that. Light is bouncing off different elements in your scenes, and it absolutely affects what they look like, okay? It absolutely does. So you want to make sure you capture it, right? We're going to keep a beautiful flow going here. Kind of like that. See how it starts to take the shape? And how can I do this? How can I get away with this? He can't keep getting away with this, as the meme says, because I started wet enough. That's what you're always missing. I see it. And all paintings that are sent to me start with more water. That's the secret. That's the secret to a good life. You drink a lot of water, but not too much. That can be a problem too. And you use a lot of water in your watercolors, see? Now, if you want to do extreme wet and wet, dab the brush on your paper towel and you'll get more control. You will get more control doing this, okay? And let's continue shaping up the red side. So we have this. You know what? We can go for the core shadow. You want to start going for the core shadow? I'll start establishing it. Let me show you. Just let's establish a few of the facial features. A bit of this shadow right here over the cheek. Some on the chin. And check it out. I'm starting to establish now. Now is the time. The core shadow, the strong shadow in the middle. Okay, so we have a strong shadow in the middle. It connects to our little nice eyebrow. It definitely connects to our eye socket right around here. Okay. You want to convey a very clear pattern of light and shadow. You want the viewer to immediately know what they're looking at. You want to spoon feed them the impression, because that's what makes a painting very satisfying for the viewer. Okay, that's what I'm after at the very least. You can do whatever you want, of course. This goes here. We're almost done, actually. This is such a neat little process, you know? I'm going to spray some water just to let it stay for a bit longer, a little wetter. There are a lot of shadows here, and you know, you get to decide which ones you want to put emphasis on, which ones you want to kind of ignore. That's totally up to you. Underneath the teeth, though, we do have a strong shadow. I'd love to capture that. And now, here's something fun you can do. If you want to bring back some lights, you can actually lift, though I don't think we need it here. I don't think we need it here. Let's go back to some blues and try and shape up the highlights that way. So, a bit of a darker blue around. I'm going to get rid of the water in my brush because this is kind of wet and wet. So a little bit of, see here, a bit of blue here. A bit of darkness here between the two, the eye and that side of the skull. This needs to be bluer. Let's get more blue on the brush. Now let's get rid of some water from the brush. See this kind of version of wet and wet? Here we need to go dark on this cheek. There we go. And you'll find, because I sprayed water and because the paint was wet to begin with, you might need to kind of revisit those very dark spots and reiterate that core shadow in the middle, okay, all around the nose, inside the nose, until you have a somewhat clear impression. Now you could go bonkers here, go all in and just darken the center. You could do that, but you know, I do want to have a bit of a nice little feeling of flow. So let's do this, get some color in there. And I kind of like where this is at, so I'm going to add a background, believe it or not. Let's add a dark background. What this will do is it will give our lights a meaning. Remember, to have meaning for the light, you sometimes need dark. Okay? I don't, for the record, believe that in real life. I don't think you need to suffer in order to feel happiness. So just so you know, unsolicited life advice. Don't you come here for that. I'm kidding. We're getting a little carried away here. Now this is where the desk ends. There we go. And this is where, see, straight line all the way, other side. And is that a wonderful little skull? Oops, cut way into the skull, lost some space for the brain. Unfortunately, you're gonna be dumber, little guy, my apologies. Now, if you do want to get some smaller details in, you know, just get a small brush. Maybe you're seeing this little bit of a dent right around here. Ooh, I'm gonna need more water here. There we go. A bit of a dent right here. There's like a black, right? Which is pretty much the same on the other side. And then you want to maybe shape up the nose just a bit, right? I kind of like that the eye goes to a little less dark iteration. You can grab some paper towels or whatever you have and lift. Let me show you what I'm going to lift here. We're going to lift this septum for the nose. See? Bit of a nice little septum. Mine is very deviated. Is that the septum? I think it is. Mine's a little deviated, so I had to get that surgery done. Made me look like a pig for a day or two. There we go, like this. If you want to add a bit of a highlight in some select spots, you know, you can come back, like here. Come back with the brush and kind of lift. See? Looks kind of nice, right? You just kind of lift. You give it a go, you know? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? Now, I could have gone a little better here on the values on the lighter side of the scale, but I'm quite happy with the values on the dark side of the scale, and I quite like the feeling that this is very loose and kind of wet and wet. Now, if you want to give it some feeling of it's solid, check it out. I'll show you exactly how. Very few details required. Let's get our nice rigger brush. This is a Lebenson one. The one I used earlier is a Michael Soloviev. And if you just add like 1 or 2 linear details, it's going to give it a feeling that it is indeed solid. So check it out. It's kind of one linear bit of detail following the shape. See? There's maybe this one too. Bit of a linear kind of detail. See? Just to anchor it. Now go on the other side, let's get our other color, other dark color. Notice even for the dark colors, I'm using my quinacridones and my blues. You want to keep this consistent. So there we go. And you can, if you want, start shaping the shadow of the teeth. There's a shadow under the skull where the gums are supposed to be. There are no more gums here though. And this does go from like a dark, pretty much, to a bit of a more nuanced kind of, see? Shaping it up, slowly but surely. Maybe there's a shadow underneath the teeth, just because, you know, light comes from above, so it kind of makes sense. I do see a bit of a shadow for the teeth that's behind. Can you see how much these details give it, like they anchor this thing, they make it look three-dimensional. There's some shadows here up top. These are the creases of the bones. And we have a bit of this little stitchy feeling to it. Very creepy, very Halloween-y. Got a good match for the season. And I believe, if you ask me, that I can just go ahead, sign this one proudly, and complete this tutorial. Reflected light will do wonders to your watercolors. If you notice it, you'll be able to paint it. If you're able to paint it, your results are going to become way more professional, way more impressive. You're more likely to sell, you're more likely to achieve whatever watercolor dreams you have. I hope you found this spooky tutorial helpful, and if you have, check out the link below. There is a big Halloween sale over on my website, on my courses. I hope you'll check those out. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's gonna stay up till the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. You may get just an amazing experience for me to be online and have people support me. If you want to get credits at the end of the videos, and just for the sake of support, this is amazing. There are some perks. There are some exclusive tutorials. If you want to get credits at the end of the videos, be sure to check that out. And I will talk to you again in the live stream.